Lounge with Travefy Academy, where we get to hear from travel industry voices and experts to learn more about their story and what they see on the horizon for travel professionals. And I'm Stephanie Grice, and our guest is Geraldine Ree, who is author, mentor, and business coach and has been in the travel industry for over 30 years. She's done every role from frontline agent to CEO and everything in between. So we're really excited to chat with you here today. And welcome to the lounge, Geraldine.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we're excited too. This is going to be a really great chat, but also very timely. So I'm excited to dig into all of this. But before I get too far into it, can you first tell us just a little bit more about yourself and just how you got started in the travel industry?
Well, absolutely. I've been in the travel industry for over 30 years. And as you said, I've done every role. And the thing that's unique about me is that I've never done a role that I haven't loved. In fact, when I was a district sales manager, I was up for a big promotion. And my biggest thing is I didn't want to leave. I was never done with the role that I had. And I think that's what's amazing about the travel industry is that we're all components of a really important industry and every role matters. And so what's unique, what I've done is I've taken this career span with all of this diversity and thought, what can I do now to really help travel advisors? Because whether you're a supplier or you're a travel agent or you're an agency owner, we all rely on that moment of truth between the consumer and the agent. And yeah, that's basically what I am committed to doing now is really giving back and helping support everything we can do to get this industry moving again.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know this goes into our my next question really well is I know that you have written a book, which for those of you who are watching us on the recording, you'll see the flying colors back there, your book cover. So, yep, there it is. Awesome. And so can you tell us a little bit more about this book, but also, why you decided to write it?
I would love to. Thank you for that question. And I really appreciate it because this started as a passion project. Most people who have I hope people listening think I might have a book in me. And it usually starts with something that my mom and dad would be proud of. And in me, that was no difference. I really wanted to capture all these incredible stories I had of watching giants in this industry do their roles well. But then when the pandemic hit in about October, I was there with everybody going, yes, we're all in this together, but I felt helpless. I felt like I'm not really doing enough. And I looked over and I had this book, which was sort of sitting on the shelf for a different purpose. And I thought, how could I make this tool something that when we can get back that has actual tips and tricks of how we're actually going to do that. So it really is a recipe for the comeback. Yeah, I'm just really excited that it's now finally just released on March 31st and it's out in the world.
That's awesome. I love the recipe for the comeback. That's
Mhm.
great. I really like that. And where can they get more information too before we get on? So I know there'll be a lot of people interested in this.
Oh, sure. I mean, really, you can find everything on my website, geraldineree.com. I do a weekly newsletter like you, keeping people informed. And if they want to buy it, it's on Amazon or on my site.
Awesome. That's really cool. So, talking about this recipe for the comeback, we are in an extremely unique time. All of us are living through, none of us have lived through anything like this before. So, it's very interesting time, but it can also be almost a good time to do certain things. So, can you explain, why now might actually be important to get certain things done for your business and what can advisors be doing right now?
I think it is the quintessential question, Stephanie. Great insight on that because the most important thing is that recognizing where you are personally. This is an extraordinary period, the likes of which we've never known, because we are going to experience the biggest comeback that any of us has ever known. I've been, like many listeners here through everything from 9/11 to SARS to the 2008 crisis. And, we've always looked to one another for leadership in sort of leading the comeback. The reason I think this is a different and a unique time is that, um, like no other time, it's actually called for an individual account. Where are you personally? What do you feel most passionate about? This is a time, pre-pandemic, although rose-colored glasses, we were coming in with this amazing strength coming into 2020. There was a lot of agents that were struggling with, not enough time. I'm just overwhelmed, promotion, commotion. There was technology changes, all these things that were happening to us. And it seemed like that elusive, better customer, that dream customer was always just one step. I'm too busy to go find new clients, or I don't have enough of the clients that I really want to serve. And so prior to, right now we have half of the equation. We have bookings, we have the ability to book travel, and yet we don't have people traveling. So we've got this capacity like never before to sit back and think, what do I really love? What do I love most? What's unique about me? And how can I find those clients to serve? So I think the first thing is just really understanding where you are and how to make the most of this time. And then once you get that sort of that set point where you go, okay, this is what matters most, you know what to do. You probably even know how to do it. But sometimes you just need a little guidance and sort of say, what do I do in what order? And that's kind of where the book comes in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, have you been able to chat with other agents and see what they're doing at this time? And if you have, is there anything that you've seen that's really a good idea, something that they're doing that is just helping them excel right now?
A great question again, Stephanie. The key is, without question, connection. And I've spoken to hundreds of advisors. I do it every day, and always ask that question, what's working? Because I believe that we're going to do this together by sharing best practices. And I actually have a little column that I write called Share It Forward. So if we can talk about what is working, and without question, I've asked this over and over again, what's working is connecting with clients. Our job isn't to tell them to travel, or how to travel or where to travel. Our job is to ask the question of, how do you feel about travel? When is it right for you? And when the time is right, here's how I can uniquely serve you. And if you can, with 100 clients, know exactly how they feel about travel, there's always going to be the early adopters that are going to be ready to jump in, the mid adopters that are going to sort of wait and see a little longer, and then the late adopters that, until the world is completely vaccinated and everything is good to go, and they may never be comfortable, but at least within your client base what is their predisposition to travel, and that you care. Connecting is about caring, just to have a call. And one agent, I love this story. She said, the only hard thing, she was doing 25 calls a day because she wanted to work through her database. And she said, the only downside is I can't get them off the phone. And right, I mean, that's not a bad thing because they're so grateful for the call. And the flip side, sometimes advisors are thinking, well, I don't want to interrupt. Nobody wants to be seen as a pushy salesperson. I mean, that's the last thing any of us want. But if you can come from the perspective of, right now, what can I do to serve my customers, it changes everything.
Yeah, I love that. So that's a good idea to start connecting, just calling, because that's true. I mean, if they are busy, then they just will tell you and say, "Can we connect another time?" Or they just, kind of fall off for the time being. So I love that. That's a really cool story right there, and the connecting with there. So
Yeah.
I kind of already asked this, but what are some other ways that advisors can come back bigger, better, and just stronger than before once, the world does start, because it's slowly getting there. It's some places not as much, some places more. But once everything truly, the floodgates are open, what are things that advisors can do to be ready for that?
Okay. Well, we've already talked about, knowing your why. The
Mhm.
first step always is, I like to do that in order of bolder first, which is, who do you love and how do you love to sell travel and how do you imagine that travel? Then comes better, the way we do, and then comes bigger. You can't get bigger if you're not bolder and better. So the better piece is really important. I really believe that the approach to how we work is as important as the work itself. And the whole idea, that's what Travefy is all about. There's the big mountain that I'm going to. What are the least amount of steps I can take to get there? And in this precious time we have, it's really stepping back and going, okay, where am I losing productivity? We're spending, we're looking at our phone 150 times a day. We're switching applications 455 times a day. I mean, it really is overwhelming. And when travel resumes and it's booming again, we don't have time to make those adjustments. So now it's about really taking time to go, okay, how do I set up my perfect day? And that's, really where my passion comes in. I'm a bit of a productivity geek, so I hope I don't get overzealous on it. But, talking to you, like, that would be a great question for you. Like, what are you saying to people about how does Travefy help them in this critical time?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what it is our big thing is productivity. It helps you save time. And sometimes it might, take you some time to build up your library and, all these things, but it's still in the end is to save you time and to look professional. So it's the same thing. Yeah. And I totally forgot too that when we were chatting earlier about with productivity hacks, and that is such a hot topic. What are some of your favorite productivity? I mean, we could probably be here forever,
Oh
but
yeah.
high level, what are some of your favorite productivity hacks that people can start applying right now?
Okay, so two things really is keep it simple, right? Don't try and be all things to all people. The biggest productivity of all is narrow your focus. Really 4 or 5. Who are your core 4, your friendly 5, and then knowing everything about them. Is super important. And then what I like to talk about is this approach to the work is about your zones of productivity. And I guess the simplest hack of this is doing the right work at the right time. So I'll give you a quick example is that most people in travel, we all have an aversion to sales. I mean, we just don't want to be, that icky LinkedIn lurker or, Facebook fiend. We want to be inviting people into relationships. And so at the end of the day, you can do all the marketing you want, but connecting has to happen. And so if that's a scary thing for you, do that at a time when your energy is at its peak. So for me, that's at 10 o'clock in the morning. But then what happens is every webinar is at 10 o'clock. And so we're flying to sometimes 3 webinars a day. So my hack is get the recording, do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with a cup of tea in your flop and drop zone, and put it on at 1.25 of the speed. You can get it through. There's a hack, right? You're saving a third of your time because you're doing it faster. You can slow it down if you need to hear it better, but those are just some of the fun things that I think about.
I love that. That is such a good one. The zones, figuring out, what works best with how your day is structured. and
Mhm.
and that's such a good one that you could do right now too, with it just being kind of a different, unique time where you can figure out what the future of your business is going to look like when travel picks back up. So
I
that's
love
incredible.
that.
I
I
love that.
love that.
Yeah, super good idea. Well, those are really the main questions that I had, but I know there's so much we could talk about. So I just want to double check and see, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to bring up or talk about for agents to hear?
Yeah, I think most of all is this connection from passion to purpose. And I keep going back to the boulder because this is the time to plant your flag, to make your declaration. It's time to stop saying, I want more luxury clients. What exactly does that look like? Who is that luxury client? And what's everything you need to do to push everything else aside to go and make that happen? So it really kind of falls in that accountability piece as what are you going to work on now to do what you've always wanted to do. I talk to agents every day to say, I really care about sustainability. Okay, so how do your clients know that? How does that show up in what you sell? Your what you sell is a postcard for what you stand for. So it's making those adjustments right now, and I think that's the part that I'm most passionate about. Is we are not going to come back bigger. We're going to come back better, and we're going to come out better together. And together means that everybody individually is allowed the freedom to choose, to decide how this travel business is going to look like. And that as leaders, if you're, a host agency leader or a consortia or a supplier, and you're thinking, how do we lead that? Let's leave room for people to choose. Let's not tell them what perfect travel looks like. Let's let people lead from within. And when you allow people to do that, there's so much more passion and purpose and fuel to the fire. And I think that's kind of the last thing I'd like to leave people on is just, we need everybody in this industry. It's there's never been a better time and a bigger time and a more important time because people have left the industry. People haven't been paid in a year. It's been incredibly tough, and we can't afford, any of us, for people to take off and leave. We want to encourage them back, and we're going to do that because they feel safe. They feel like this is an industry that I can flourish in. I know how. That's confidence leaves us if we're not doing half of our job. If we're not having that welcome home phone call where people are so excited, we start to lose confidence that we know how to do it. So this is a real rebuilding time, and a together time, I think.
I love that. That's so perfectly well put on this crazy, it's been a very extremely tough year for everyone and travel industry. I mean, the first couple months was just pandemonium because there was the cancellations, rebookings, not knowing what the future looks like. And now it's a perfect rebuilding time, and it's going, and we keep saying the big comeback, but it truly will be insanely huge. And a lot of people see the value of a travel agent if they didn't see it before. And so it's going to be crazy incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. And before we go though, so I before we wrap up here, I always like to do rapid fire fun questions. So
Sure.
I'm going to ask you a few of them here really quick. So they're just going to be kind of random. So feel free. We call them rapid fire, but if you need to take it's okay. We will totally allow you to think on it. So I have a few questions here. So the first one is what is your favorite destination you've traveled to?
Tahiti. With my
Nice.
family of 5, when my kids were still under roof, I'm an empty nester now, and I think I'll always think back to the last time we were all together, and it was magical because it was in Tahiti.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That's really cool. And what is the best meal you've ever had while traveling?
Ooh, that's easy. It was on Cunard, and it was in their private dining restaurant. And of course, now that I can't remember because I don't think they have it anymore, but it was short ribs, and they were steaming and poofing and doing
Oh,
all
wow.
wonderful things, mouth watering. And yeah, it just was dreamy.
Oh, that is amazing. Ah, that sounds really good. So what do you think is the most underrated travel destination?
Ooh, underrated. Well, it's probably all the places that I haven't been to yet that I'm dying. The South Danube is incredible. A lot of people haven't discovered it. I am dying to go to Brazil. Is a huge one for me. So I think the underrated destination is the one that we haven't gone to yet, but we've always had a curiosity to go to.
Love that. And this one actually wasn't on there, but now it just made me think of it. Is do you have any, maybe not necessarily travel plans set in stone yet, but do you have a place in mind that you want to go to first?
Yes. Booked
I know we all
already. So I'm booked to
yes.
travel to Egypt. I'm booked to travel to Alaska, and I'm trying to find, something in between. Again, it all depends on the lockdown dates and when those get released, but I will be the first to go. And I do really believe this is that booking something, it's not just hearsay, it's not just talk. When you are actually going, you do visualize yourself, and it gives you a little holiday every day. And so I really strongly recommend get something booked.
Yes. Oh, I love that holiday every day. It's so true. Oh, those sound like amazing trips too coming up. So that's
Thank you.
exciting.
Yes.
So last question here is what is the last great book or article you read besides Flying Colors?
Oh, I'm reading one right. I mean, I always think about the one I'm reading right now, and it's called The Unwanted Guest, and it's by Dr. Amy Silver, and it's all about fear. That because I
Oh,
think we're at this time in the travel industry, the likes, the whole idea of safety. Safety probably didn't even come up in the top 5 when we said what's important to travel. It was just an assumption. Suddenly, this word safety has climbed to the very top, and I think we have a lot of fear around, can I deliver that for my customers, and where do I end and where do they begin? And just the whole idea about fear has always really fascinated me, because I think to be confident, you have to face your fears. And so Amy talks about, the unwanted guest, and what happens is that, if our first thing we do is we objectify fear. Fear is outside of us because we're unwilling to recognize that it's our fear within that we're facing. So that's a really cool book.
I like that. I've read a book similar to that where it's just the fear and how to respond to it. And yeah, that sounds like a really good book right now too. So everyone put that on your list. I'm gonna put it on my list. That sounds really
Okay,
good. But that
good.
was awesome. Well, I just want to thank you so much again for your time. And thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of the Lounge with Travefy Academy. And again, thank you to our special guest, Geraldine, for joining us here today. We had so much fun chatting with you, and it gave so much motivation and inspiration moving forward, which I think is just always needed in a time like now, and even after this once things get crazy. So thank you so much again, and be sure to subscribe to to our podcast or subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of the latest episodes. And we hope that you enjoyed our conversation today and join us again. But for now, stay safe and we will catch you on the next flight.